So if you're considering buying a zero electric motorcycle and you're just shocked at all the options, I'm gonna give you a breakdown of why I chose the Zero SRF over the Zero SR. Hello everybody, coming at you with all my might. It is Smite. How you guys doing today? We're out here on the Zero SRF 2020, out here enjoying the beautiful weather. It is 39 degrees. We got a sun shining in the sky. It's pretty awesome. We got a nice winter day to get out and ride. Of course, when it's 38 degrees, I'm running with heated gear. So actually, back when I started really searching the Zero motorcycles and seeing what they're all about, when I was first decided that we were gonna take the trip down and test one, I was looking at the Zero SR because honestly, the thing at 70 miles per hour gets 90 miles. You can go 90 miles at 70 miles per hour, so that was pretty cool. I'm like, oh man, look at that range, you know. And of course it could go even further with the if you're going slower. Well, I didn't really have a notion of how fast I would actually be going when I rode a motorcycle. Which is, for me, I want to say never the speed limit. I'm either above it or below it. Wink wink. So I'm never a constant speed, so that really plays a factor on how much range you got. So on our way there, I was really contemplating, because you could pick up a SR with a charge tank or a power tank for, I think there was around like $14,000 to $16,000 brand new. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty, I mean, think of that. And at the time, I was only finding the SRSs with, you know, the premium models for like 20 grand, if not more. So when I saw that, I'm like, dang. And I was talking to my dad, I was like, this is pretty cool. And I didn't think about looking at the bike online. Like, I seen it, but nothing really clicks until the bike's right in front of you. First off, and I covered this in one of why I bought my electric motorcycle videos, this bike looks like a motorcycle. The SRF looks like a motorcycle, an awesome, you know, street fighter naked motorcycle. The SR is still kind of looks otherworldly. When you actually stand and you have one of these side by side, you start noticing things. First of all, the SR only has one disc brake up front. And I had a buddy who had an NC 700 Honda, and that was his complaint about it. He's like, when you're going and you're braking aggressively, you can actually feel the bike pulling to the sides. The side that had the disc brake, because the geometry and the centrifugal force of you pulling on that brake, and they put big brakes on there. I mean, it's a big rotor, so it gives you more stopping power. Whereas when you have dual calipers, you don't really have to worry about that, because you can use a smaller brake disc, because you have more, so you have double the surface area. So I'm like, after seeing that, I'm like, oh, look at that. And not to mention there's the tire size difference. Now, understand this. The person brought this up in a comment. The smaller tires actually give you more efficiency, because there's less rolling resistance, less contact with the ground, so you don't have to worry. I mean, it's more efficient, less contact, less rolling resistance, and it increases your range. That's an upside of having, it has a 140 on the rear. But the problem is having a 140 on the rear, for me, you're talking about a bike that had, I'm not 100% sure if the SRs have traction control or not, but I'm pretty sure that maybe it was the S's that don't, but they don't have the advanced traction control that the SRF does. And now they're only making 116 pounds of torque, which is significantly smaller than the 140 that this puts out. So then I'm like, man, you know, if you're gonna spend that kind of money, you want the big bad one. And of course, you know, all the other little things that, in my mind, I mean, it's good for efficiency, like the smaller tire, the less weight, it does weigh like 40 pounds less than this bike, and this bike weighs 485 pounds. So I think they're around 440, if not lighter. Now that makes a huge difference, and that obviously gives it more range. But another thing is the fact that this motor churns out a whole lot more power. I mean, 110 horsepower with the 140 foot-pounds. I mean, it sets you back in your seat. But another thing is for one, unless you get a charge tank, you don't have level 2 charging. Like you can, but you have to make some weird conglomerate of cables, and it's crazy. I mean, if you're into all that stuff, all the weird electronics, and adding chargers to get the charge faster, then by all means. But as for simple plug in and forget, there's nothing simple about it. Now, New Zealand has made and has acquired all of these weird charging cables to hook up to the charging centers that they have over in his country, and I'm sure there are other places too, but I wasn't interested in that. I was interested more in just plug and play. Now, like you said, you can do that if you have the charge tank. I think it has a level 2 charging port, like so on this SRF. So after seeing them side by side, I really was drawn to this bike. Like I said, it has the aggressive, naked look that actually looks like a motorcycle. But I can see why the SR is the way it is, because it really is efficient. But that bike was built more so around efficiency rather than looks, where I truly believe that this was built more so for looks than efficiency, obviously. I mean, if you want max efficiency, you want a windshield and everything like that. This is a biker's bike. It's not an efficiency mobile. And that's one thing I had realized, you know, coming over into the electronic realm. There's a lot of people that are after because the efficiency. They love the efficiency, but being, you know, obsessed with power and raw performance, the bigger motor appealed more so to me. Another thing that I picked up and noticed about the SR versus the SRF is, since they changed the routing of air and the different motor, the motor that they put on the SRF has better cooling properties. Like I read a couple of the forums online, and you can overheat this motor to where it goes in a thermal shutdown and reduces the power output. But one guy said that he was doing like 100 miles per hour for literally a mile, and then it actually went and it toned him down a little bit. To do that steady, you're not going to be doing that in the curves. There's going to be a lot of actuating of the throttle. To do 100 miles for a mile, 100 mile an hour for a mile, you literally have to have a nice straight stretch. I was watching a video that New Zealand put out when he was doing like a track. They shut down one of the curvy roads, and he was allowed to go unrestricted speeds, and his bike was overheating, and you could literally see it, and he kept saying about how the performance was dropping. Now, I personally, that was an issue for me. Like, it wasn't really on it for what seemed very long, and the thing was already throttling him back. So the motor, heat is inefficiency. Whoa, what the heck are you doing? Heat is inefficiency. So if your motor is building up a lot of heat, something in there, and plus, I mean, it could just be ventilation and how it's set up. It's not really designed to run at that high of an output for very long. Whereas seems like they had this one pretty good, because you don't really see a whole lot of people online complaining about thermal shutdown on the SRF. Now, I personally have not had a single issue for where it went into thermal shutdown, but obviously I've only had it for like the colder portions of the year so far. I put 700 miles on it and it's always been like 50 and below. So I really, and that's the human degrees, you know, Fahrenheit, America, you know. So honestly, I mean, right now I'm running and the motor is not even, it's like in the bottom corner. The battery alone is just in the first bar, and I've been riding for about 16 miles straight, so it's been pretty crazy. But of course, you know, I'm riding below 40 and below, so I really haven't had an issue where it's gotten a chance to overheat. I really didn't think this through very well. These roads are a lot more salty than I would like. I'm just trying not to get wet, because then the salt will stick. I'll have to hose it down. Not hose it, but you know, give her the old wipey. So that was my major concerns over the SR versus the SRF. You know, this seems like more of a motorsports enthusiast bike, where the previous generations were still based on more efficiency. Now, I'm not saying we can't have the best of both worlds, but I just love the raw power. So those are just a few things to consider. Like I said, you can get more range out of the SR. It just doesn't look as cool. I really love the 180 on the back of this bike. That tire, that fat tire, it just looks nice. So thank you so much for hanging around. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and subscribe to me on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. Have a nice day, and God bless.